1. Neanderthals had local food cultures, amazing archaeological discoveries from Israeli caves. 2. Neanderthal kitchen secrets, what 50,000-year-old bones reveal about their food preferences. 3. Neanderthals had different cooking traditions, a study reveals. 1. Neanderthals had local food cultures, amazing archaeological discoveries from Israeli caves. Imagine this: Neanderthals, often thought of as primitive, may have had their own unique culinary traditions. Recent findings from 2 caves in present-day northern Israel suggest that these ancient groups had distinct methods of preparing their food. Contrary to popular belief, Homo sapiens weren't the first to master the art of cooking. Neanderthals, who roamed Europe and Asia until about 40,000 years ago, were adept at using flint knives to butcher their catches. They didn't just stop at meat, they also seasoned their dishes with wild herbs, showcasing a surprising level of culinary sophistication. To delve deeper into Neanderthal food culture, Anel Jalan from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and her team investigated the caves of Amud and Kebara. These sites, separated by only 70 kilometers, offer a fascinating glimpse into local cultural variations. The stone tools, food remnants, and hearths discovered indicate that Neanderthals likely used these caves as winter shelters during the same era. Both caves had similar prey like gazelles and fallow deer, complemented by larger animals like boar or aurochs, Jalan explains. Yet, the way they handled their food differed. But here's where it gets controversial: the bones at Kebara show more large prey was hunted and brought back for butchering. Using microscopes, the researchers examined cuts made by stone tools on bones from layers dating back 50,000 to 60,000 years. Surprisingly, despite similar flint tools, the cut patterns varied. Kebara's cuts vary more in width and depth, while Amud's are more clustered and overlapping, Jalan notes. To rule out differences due to varying prey, they focused on gazelle long bones from both sites, which showed the same distinct patterns. Seren Kabuku from the University of Liverpool adds, it's like 2 groups cutting beef, but one does it closer to the bone, extracting every bit of meat. Previous studies on bone cut marks from recent societies suggest these variations aren't due to a lack of skill but rather different techniques. Jalan posits that the Amud Neanderthals might have deliberately made their meat harder to process, perhaps by drying or hanging it before cooking, requiring more cuts or a larger team for butchery. In such opportunistic behavior, efficiency would be key, but it seems social or cultural factors played a bigger role, Jalan says. These practices could have been part of group organization or traditions passed down through generations. Kabuku remarks, discovering nuances in how technology was used in daily life isn't shocking. As we investigate further, we might uncover more subtleties in Middle Paleolithic sites. The timing of cave occupation remains a mystery. It could have been simultaneous or centuries apart, we lack the precision to know, Jalan admits. However, the consistent cut mark patterns in Amud's layers suggest long-term adherence to butchery traditions by returning groups. So, what do you think? Were these differences purely cultural, or could there be other explanations? Share your thoughts in the comments. 2. Neanderthal kitchen secrets, what 50,000-year-old bones reveal about their food preferences. Imagine the surprise when we discover that even our ancient ancestors had their own culinary quirks. A recent study reveals that Neanderthals, our prehistoric relatives, had distinct preferences when it came to preparing their meals. Researchers have uncovered intriguing evidence from 2 caves in northern Israel, showing that different groups of Neanderthals, living around the same period, had unique methods for butchering the same types of animals. Anel Jalan, from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the lead author of the study, emphasizes, this indicates that within the Neanderthal population, there were several distinct groups, each with their own ways of doing things, even for activities crucial to survival. In their findings published in the Frontiers in Environmental Archaeology journal, Jalan and her team describe how they examined 249 bone fragments from Amud Cave, dating back 70,000 to 50,000 years, and 95 bone fragments from Kebara Cave, dating from 60,000 to 50,000 years ago. These caves, about 70 kilometers apart, were winter habitats for Neanderthals. Interestingly, both groups used similar flint-based tools. The analysis of these bone fragments, recovered in the 1990s, confirmed earlier observations. Burned and fragmented samples were more prevalent in Amud Cave, and both groups had diets that included animals like mountain gazelles and fallow deer. But here's where it gets controversial. The study also revealed that larger animal bones, such as those from aurochs, were more commonly found in Kebara cave. Jalin speculates that this could be due to easier identification of samples at Kebara or the possibility that Neanderthals at Amud butchered such animals in different locations. The researchers conducted a meticulous analysis of the cut marks on 43 bone samples from Amud cave and 34 from Kebara cave, uncovering several differences. Some variations were related to the type of animal or body part being butchered, but these factors didn't account for all the differences. Jalin noted, even when comparing only the gazelles and their long bones, we found a higher density of cut marks in Amud's bones, with more intersecting cut marks and fewer straight lines, but more curved ones. The team proposes several explanations, such as different butchery techniques among Neanderthal groups, varying numbers of individuals involved in butchering, or differences in the state of decay of the meat. It could be due to food preferences leading to different meat preparation methods, or simply variations in how they learn to cut meat, Jalin suggests. Dr. Matt Pope from University College London, who wasn't part of the study, commented that this research complements existing findings showing that different Neanderthal groups had unique toolmaking methods and sometimes used different toolkits. These cut marks are more than just marks, they represent the gestures and movements of Neanderthal people, as telling as footprints or handprints on a cave wall, he said. Future research will aim to differentiate between the various explanations for these variations. However, the current study serves as a powerful reminder that there was no single, uniform Neanderthal culture. Instead, the population comprised multiple groups at different times and places, living in the same landscape but possibly with quite distinct lifestyles. What do you think? Do these findings challenge your perception of Neanderthal societies? Share your thoughts in the comments. 3. Neanderthals had different cooking traditions, a study reveals. Did ancient Neanderthals have their own culinary traditions? A fascinating new study sheds light on this intriguing possibility by examining the distinct ways Neanderthals at two nearby caves in northern Israel processed their food, despite living in similar environments and using comparable tools. Anel Jalin, a PhD candidate at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and the lead author of the study published in Frontiers in Environmental Archaeology, highlights that the subtle differences in how animal carcasses were butchered at the Amud and Kebara caves might reflect localized food preparation practices. Even though the Neanderthals at these two sites faced similar challenges and had access to the same resources, they developed unique butchery strategies, which could have been passed down through generations, explained Jalin. This research offers a rare opportunity to explore the variability in Neanderthal butchery techniques. If variations are found, it could suggest that cultural traditions, cooking preferences, or social structures influenced even basic survival activities like butchering. The Amud and Kebara caves, located just 70 kilometers apart, were occupied by Neanderthals during winter approximately 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. Archaeological findings include stone tools, hearths, and remnants of meals, primarily gazelles and fallow deer. Interestingly, while both groups used the same type of flint tools and hunted similar prey, there were notable differences in their practices. For instance, the Neanderthals at Kebara seemed to hunt larger animals more frequently and brought more complete carcasses back to the cave. Additionally, the bone remains at each site showed different treatment. At Amud, a higher percentage of bones were burned and fragmented, possibly due to cooking methods or later disturbances. In contrast, the bones from Kebara were less fragmented and showed less evidence of carnivore activity. To delve deeper into these differences, the researchers analyzed a selection of cut-marked bones from both sites. By examining the marks under a microscope, they could determine the techniques used to process the meat. Similar patterns would indicate shared practices, while differences would suggest distinct cultural traditions. The analysis revealed that while the cut mark profiles, angles, and widths were similar, reflecting the use of similar tools, the density and shape of the marks differed between the two sites. The marks at Amud were more densely packed and less linear. Several factors could explain these differences, including variations in prey species or bone types. However, even when comparing only the long bones of small ungulates from both sites, the differences persisted. Experimental recreations also ruled out the possibility that the differences were due to varying skill levels or the intensity of butchering. The researchers proposed that the Neanderthals at Amud might have treated their meat differently before butchering, perhaps by drying or allowing it to decompose, which could account for the observed differences in cut marks. Another possibility is that variations in group organization influenced the butchering process. Jalin acknowledges the limitations of the study, such as the small size of some bone fragments, which can make it challenging to interpret the butchery marks fully. Future research, including more experimental work and comparative analyses, will be crucial for understanding these nuances and potentially reconstructing Neanderthal culinary practices. Our study opens up new avenues for exploring the complexity of Neanderthal behaviors, concluded Jalin. By examining the details of their food preparation techniques, we can gain a deeper understanding of their cultural traditions and social structures.